a little of a narrative in the question so that people understand a little bit about what we're asking the candidates to comment on. The first question concerns the conservation surcharge. If you look at your electric bill, you see that every month you are being charged a surcharge. This surcharge goes to pay for free energy audits and rebates on certain items that you can use in your home. You will pay this on a monthly basis, even if you get the energy audit or you don't get the energy audit, so take advantage of it. So the question is, the city raised approximately $1 million in 2011 from the surcharge and used this money to staff 5 people who perform energy audits, administer a rebate program, and grants for low and low-income residents. During the recent commission work sessions, commissioners came to a consensus to moderately reduce the surcharge and create a zero-interest loan program to assist low to low-income residents in making energy-efficient modifications to their homes. What is your position on the conservation surcharge and the city's interest in becoming a lender and collector of funds? If elected, would you focus any of your energy on addressing this subject? And if so, what steps would you take to further your goals?
At this time, I don't think that we should have that fee at all. And I also feel that our homes in the city are low to moderate already. We don't need to set up another program at this time.
Commissioner Goldman?
First of all, the conservation management money does not go to the what you said before, which was the rebates. That's a rebate grant that's out of the FMPA. That does not have anything to do with the conservation management funds. And conservation gives us much more bang for the buck. When we reduce our energy usage in the city, we pay less for our energy, and we thereby reduce what we're going to have to come up with in the future when we get out of FMPA. It's very important that our community does have this energy conservation fund that provides people who are low income with the ability to lower their energy usage. And I've spoken to many people on this campaign who did not know about it, who are going to apply for it. So I think it's a very important program. As far as the loan program is concerned, we have not passed that as yet, and I have to do a lot more research to see how viable that program would be.
Just wanted to take a moment to share with people that very few people are using this program because it allows someone to come into your home, and we still have the perception that we're going to come into your home and find fault with something you may be doing and use that against you.
With respect to this surcharge, there's one issue that I never hear candidates speak about, and it's the fact that all of the businesses in Lake Worth pay this surcharge. Yet when I contacted the city to see if I could take advantage of the program, which I pay for every month, I was told that I am not eligible, that none of the businesses in the city of Lake Worth are eligible for this. Do any of the candidates want to comment on that? Mayor Ward.
That is not correct. In fact, this year we are looking to increase our commercial audits. I don't recall the percentage, but we have as one of our goals is increasing the audits of commercial properties. So please call again. If you have that problem, please call me personally and I'll take care of it.
Audit. So other than the audit, is anything else covered by what we pay every month? So when someone asks for a rebate, that's not coming from the fee that we pay every month on our bill. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Andy mentioned that it affects very few people here in the city. This conservation fund actually affects less than 1% of our city's residents get to take advantage of this. So this is almost $1.2 million if you look at what's budgeted for this coming year, that we could be saving off our utility rates by eliminating this fee that is not mandated by state or federal, it's just here in the city.
have to call and request it. So you have to take that personal responsibility. It's important to know that the charge is $1.95, and FP&L also has a conservation charge on their bill. This is a standard charge that most power companies do because, as Commissioner Golden said, it is imperative for us to reduce our peak demand usage so that we are able to get the most competitive rates from a utility provider as possible. We will be charged based on how much power we use at peak demand. So when collectively we all bring down our usage, it lowers all of our utility rates. And the people who have gone through the audit program have on the average lowered their bill by 20%. That helps counteract that image we have that people can't afford to live here and stay here because of their utility bills.
Andy?
I just want to remind people what they're talking about. They have lowered your utilities by 2.5 cents, but they have raised every other fee. I am a small business owner. I don't take advantage of the conservation program because it would cost me $5,000 to replace the lights. I can't afford that right now. And to talk about peak time, let's talk about peak time. As a small business owner, I am busy during peak time. When you are bringing your children home from work, school, and you're coming home from work and you're feeding your children and you're putting them down for bath, that is peak time. There's only so much we can do with peak time. That is not acceptable.
And that 2.5 pennies. And that 2.5 pennies that we have in a reduction of the utility rates or the electric rates is actually not anywhere near 1,000, I guess it's 1,000 kilowatts or less. If you use 1,000 kilowatts or less, you will see a savings on your utility bill. Does anyone here run their air conditioning? Does anyone have kids? Do you do laundry more than once a week, maybe? Okay, then you use more than 1,000 kilowatts, to give you an idea. So you're not seeing any of that savings.
Okay. Moving on to question 2. Question 2. According to an article published in the Palm Beach Post on September 28, 2011, City Commissioners recently agreed to hold their salaries unchanged for the budget year. But not until after a long discussion in which Vice Mayor Susan Mulvihill and Mayor Rachel Waterman said salaries for the city's elected officials need to be raised. The salary of a Lake Worth mayor is $15,400. The salary of a Lake Worth commissioner is $14,400. Green Acres, which has a slightly larger population than Lake Worth, pays council members $3,300 less than what Lake Worth commissioners earn. Do you think the current mayor/commission salary is reasonable? And if not, what amount of compensation do you believe is appropriate for these positions? Dustin.
Thank you. Great question, whoever submitted, great question. I'm the only candidate up here tonight who has stated that I will give my entire mayoral salary first in the first year to the First Congregational United Churches Food Bank Program, and in the second year give that money back to the taxpayers. It's not for me to say what a proper salary is, but in this time where every single one of our citizens is having to tighten their belts, when I am regaled with tales of our senior citizens having to choose between food, medicine, utilities, and taxes, to me it's galling, it's appalling that we would even consider raising commissioners and the mayor's salary.
I would also propose too, I've gone through the budget and I had a lot of cuts. I found close to $2 million worth of cuts that could be happening right now to our city before we have to assess each and every person, business, homeowner, church. And one of those is I've called for in my plan that I have for the city is to cut all the salaries, including the commission and the mayor, and all city employees 10%.
Oh, wow.
First, I'd like to correct, we did not consider raising salaries. The proposed ordinance was to leave them the same. The discussion, however, suggested and it was me who suggested it, that in the future we should discuss raising the salaries because they have not been changed since 2004. I said that this time, you're right, our senior citizens are suffering, and so are many people who aren't senior citizens, so it's not the appropriate time to do this. But it is something that merits discussion in the future. Let's compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges. Green Acres City Commission meetings are typically over within an hour, and they have 2 meetings a month. This year alone, we've had over 60 meetings. We have a much more complex budget, a much more complex city with much more complex problems. And we should compensate people so that we get an array of people willing to represent their city.
You know, I love when people say they're going to cut things out of the budget. I've never attended not one of the budget meetings, and we've had at least 8 of them. You know, the city employees, first of all, cannot be cut. Right? They're under, a lot of the city employees are under union contracts. We cannot cut the city employees' contracts. And I think it's really wise that when we look at the city budget and we say we have a balanced budget this year. Our finance department has gotten awards this year, the first time. Our finance department has skilled financial analysts on our finance department. And I think that's something that we should be proud of, and we should continue moving forward with our budget. Of course we need to make cuts. But it's very easy to stand outside, not go to any commission meetings and say this is where we should have cut in the past. We have a balanced budget, a fair budget, and I think that we'll continue to make changes in the future to make it even less egregious to the residents of our city so that we really can cut some expenses.
Where to start? First of all, my opponent has consistently raised taxes for the last 4 years. In this time of hardship, we should not be raising taxes, we should not be adding fire assessments, we should not be asking for raises. It's just not, this is not the right time to do it when there is so much going on in our town. And as far as being at budget meetings, we all attend budget meetings. However, for those that don't attend budget meetings, you can't speak. So my opponent keeps saying, you can come, you can speak, you can get the information. At budget meetings, at their workshops, you cannot speak.
Thanks. I just want to get another quick point in that I raised at the last debate, and that is this idea that the commissioner's salary and the mayoral salary is a drop in the bucket. That's something I was forced to sit through while I'm writing motions at work, listening to the budget meetings at the office. This idea, again, is a pessimistic view, and as a young person, I take the view like this. $75,000, sure, that's, for some people that's a drop in the bucket, but that's somebody's salary. That's a lot of food we could buy some needy people. That is some fees and taxes we could cut. So it's one thing to say we should be paid more, we should be paid more. But even if we cut the commissioners and the mayoral salary in half, think of the good we could do for this community. Thanks.
Well, based on the city website, which I don't know how updated the budget is that's posted on the city website, but it shows for fiscal year 2009-10, the budget being the general fund budget, $32,656,000. Then it shows 2011, $30,327,000, and the proposed budget for fiscal year 2012, $34,282,000. So I don't see a significant amount of savings. I know the fire assessment is in there, but also is $300,000 for streetlights and a possible assessment on that as well. So I don't see where we really saved anything, along with, letting go 70 employees in the city. And I do want to clarify what I said before. When I talked about a 10% cut, I meant for all employees making $100,000 or more in our city hall. I just wanted to mention that we proposed, they proposed $450,000 in new jobs for the city, including a leisure services director. Okay? So when we say that we've done as much cutting as we possibly can, I really don't think we've sharpened our pencil just yet.
We move to the next question. The next question is kind of in a similar vein, so you may want to cut this a little bit shorter, or however you want, it's up to you. But the question deals with the fact that the city manager has declared that the city is in a state of financial emergency. And financial emergency, folks, means that we don't have enough money to pay all our bills. And we have to look at every single penny coming into the city and determine the best way for that money to be spent. The city managers in her declaration laid off 70 low-level employees with an average salary of less than $30,000 a year. The commission then voted to fund a $100,000 trolley, add 4 staff positions, making an average of $100,000 a year, and have agreed to send a commissioner to Canada to attend an international conference. Well, 70 employees making an average of $30,000 a year is $210,000. We're not looking at their benefits, but that's that number. So we've now added the 400,000 in additional. Can you explain your position on the aforementioned decisions and tell the audience what your interpretation of the term belt tightening is as it relates to fiscal policy? Anybody want to take that? Dustin.
I'd love to lead off on this one. You know, one thing I've asked the Post not to quote me as a doctrinaire libertarian, but as a guy who tends to view the government as a hindrance rather than a help. I have a concern, I've raised those concerns throughout this campaign, that there's a view down at City Hall. There's a view that government-sponsored projects, government-sponsored rehabilitation is going to be the way forward. With the trolley, it's just not the best way we can use that money. There's no saying how much better we could use $1 in your pocket. You go ahead and spend that money downtown rather than to take that money and put it on the trolley. And one thing I always say is, the easiest thing in the world is to be a politician of the ilk of which I was forced to endure in Metro Detroit, and that viewpoint has failed. And so, you know, trolley again, it's very easy to say, sure, yes, sounds great, but a much harder political stance to make is the one I'm making. It's not rosy, it's not happy, but you just have to say no, and that takes guts.
Well, Andrew Meyer from the Palm Beach Post recently had an article and discussing this trolley. And his quote was exactly, typical of the commission's thinking was its move to put aside $115,000 for an occasional trolley to the public beach. Pushed by new Mayor Rachel Waterman, it was condemned by the city's own Finance Advisory Board, which called it, quote, beyond the pale to spend money on something we clearly don't need. Yet spend the commission did. In an eminently bikeable and walkable city of just 6 square miles, one that still can't fix deteriorating roads, this misappropriation suggests the commission overly enamored of shiny things. We can't keep proposing new spending without getting to the heart of the matter.
I think, first of all, it's important that we all have our facts correct for us to properly debate the issues. The average salary of the new positions is actually $60,000. Those $30,000 a year low-paying jobs that you talked about also had over $30,000 a year in benefits, so they actually evened out. By contracting a private contractor to do those same jobs, we've actually saved over $500,000 than paying our employees directly. The new positions we're talking about are things like an economic development manager and a marketing coordinator. These are positions that are strategic investments in the future of our city that will allow us to go after grants that we have in the past lost. We just lost a $2 million grant this year alone because we did not have an economic development coordinator to implement it. And the trolley, not a dollar has been spent. Mr. Morrow unfortunately had his facts wrong with that one as well. Unfortunately, he did not talk to me before writing the article. I could have spared him the shame. It's $100,000, $15,000 of which was allocated to circulate people to support our downtown businesses, something that Mr. Amoroso came and spoke in support of at the commission meeting. The other $85,000 is a set-aside that's not in the general fund. It's in the capital improvement fund. It is for the potentiality of a trolley, something that many and people who don't drive depend on. And something that Mr. Rinaldi, our moderator of the evening, also came and spoke to me about how he was in support of for his guests at the bed and breakfast. Thank you.